Yes, so let me just tell you a little bit about what we're doing and what's happening. So Joanne Sorensen, our head of operations and country manager, and myself have been doing a road tour around Australia and New Zealand. We are going out there on Why Not More in 2024. And we just happen to have the crowd that gets together every Tuesday at Karen Chillman's, where Bronwyn and yourself pipe in every other Tuesday and share.
Okay.
And we've collectively come together, and this crowd is delighted because out of everybody we asked who would they like to speak today live, they chose you.
Well, that's an honor. I take that very seriously, and I'm very grateful. So thank you so much for appreciating what I do. And I'm here for you guys. So thank you. And Tracy, you don't sound like an Aussie.
Well, I am Canadian born and raised.
Okay.
And in 1997, when I came here, it was like, how do I make this place home? I knew it was home. So I've been here for well over 20 years, and it is home.
Wow, beautiful. Where in Australia?
So I live in the Gold Coast, and which just happens to be where we are today. So
lovely. And that's where I was with Karen and Kevin last year, right? Was the Gold Coast?
That is correct. So we are
not last
far.
year. That was 10 years ago or 8 years ago.
So we have to work hard to get you back here live, Ben. So
okay, let's plan
we'll
on
have some further conversations. So thank you for coming. So we just would love you to pour your heart out on what you feel is necessary. We love hearing the triangle of health. I'm going to put you on our Fighting for Better Health series. We have a YouTube channel, and so you will be one of our episodes for Fighting for Better Health.
Oh, okay, lovely. Okay, that's
awesome.
awesome.
Part of the dialogue, your triangle of health and your food muppet, like that would just be wonderful. Anything else you feel? And I do believe there's a few questions at the end that we have for you.
Okay, and we have what, 60 minutes? How long? 45 minutes?
You have 45 minutes, and then we can have some questions, whatever you feel. Sound good, everybody?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, well, I thought this was going to be a radio interview, so I didn't know we were going to have a live presentation, but that's fine. So here's the deal. And first of all, it's a triangle of disease. And the reason that's important is because the triangle of disease is a triad, a developmental triad that underlies all chronic health challenges. And the reason this is important is, number one, because it's important because if you don't address these 3 points of bodily breakdown that underlie all chronic degenerative diseases, you're not going to be able to change, you're not going to be able to heal or reverse the diseases. And this is why medicine fails us. And when I say medicine fails us, I think it's really important that all of us recognize that doctors are not stupid people and doctors are not bad people. It's just that they're not trained to do what we're asking them to do. The skill set of a doctor is to keep us alive. And this is a great thing. Everybody wants to be alive. There's nothing wrong with a healthcare professional who is trained to keep us alive. However, being alive is the very bottom rung on the ladder of a good life. That's the basic, being alive. We don't want to just be alive. We want to thrive. We want to have joie de vivre. We want to have energy. We want to be able to be resistant to disease. We want to be able to bound out of bed with joy in our steps and in our life. We want to be able to throw up our grandkids and our kids in the air and catch them. We want to be able to touch our toes without pain. These are all things that transcend just being alive. And so while medicine, the modern medical model, is wonderful at keeping us alive, it is not able to allow us to thrive. That's not their job. Unfortunately, that's what we're asking them to do. And so we're always surprised when they recommend protocols or they perform protocols that compromise our ability to thrive, We're always surprised. We say, how could the doctor do that? How could he take my gallbladder out? How could he put me on this drug that makes me tired or that keeps me from performing sexually or gives me brain fog? Or how could he not understand the power of nutrition? We're always surprised. And we shouldn't be surprised because that's not what they're supposed to do. They're very good at keeping us alive. They're not very good at allowing us to thrive. It's kind of like if you have a carpenter who's the best carpenter in the world. He could make the best kitchen cabinets that ever were. He's an artist with kitchen cabinets. And you say to this carpenter who's wonderful at making kitchen cabinets, you say to him, I want you to fix my engine in my car. Well, he's going to take a hammer and he's going to take a nail and he's going to try to fix your transmission or your engine. What's he going to do with the hammer and nail? He's going to destroy your engine. because he's not a mechanic. He's a carpenter. If you ask a carpenter, no matter how good he is, to fix your engine, he's going to destroy your engine, because a hammer and nail are not tools for your car. They're tools for your cabinets. So it's very important that we recognize that physicians themselves are good people. They're not dumb people. We're just asking them to do things that we should be doing for ourselves. Because while a doctor doesn't have the skills, doesn't have the skill set in his profession to keep us, to do more than keep us alive, to allow us to thrive, we can do that ourselves, and we should be doing that ourselves. And this is the mission of longevity, is to provide people with one of the tools, one of the most important tools for allowing us to thrive, and that is nutrition, the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. Okay, that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say before I proceed is that all healing, all wellness, all health, and likewise, conversely, all disease is multidimensional. I call these the 4 dimensions of health: spiritual, mental, emotional, and then physical. And if you have a physical health challenge that is not resolving with physical protocols, you can rest assured there are emotional, mental, and spiritual dimensions that are not being addressed. And the reason I say that is because I don't want to be the kind of nutritionist or healthcare professional who says, just take the Mighty 90 essential nutrients, just eat this particular food, or just don't eat this particular food, when there are the other dimensions of health and wellness that need to be addressed: spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. Spirituality meaning not religious, not proselytizing, just a sense of connection to the universe, that you're, to the world, to nature, that you're being taken care of just by being a child of God if you're a religious person, or just by being part of nature if you're a non-religious person. So spirituality doesn't have to be about a religion. It's about feeling connected. When we feel disconnected, we go into a fear response. There's only one real fear. You know, if you look in the dictionary under fears or phobias, you'll see there's hundreds of different phobias. You'll see fear of public speaking, and fear of death, and a fear of crowds and heights. And there's actually a fear of getting peanut butter stuck in the roof of your mouth, believe it or not. There's fears of snakes, and there's fears of spiders, and there's all these fears that we have, but really all fears are just derivatives of one fundamental basic fear, and that is the fear of the unknown. When we're afraid of public speaking, we're afraid of what people are going to think of us. We're afraid of what the result of our speaking is going to be. It's unknown. Fear of death is fear of the unknown. Fear of heights, fear of crowds, fear of snakes, fear of spiders, all involves the unknown. So fear is fear of the unknown. When we don't recognize something, when we don't know something, we're not familiar with something, it can activate a fear response. When we activate a fear response, a part of the nervous system kicks in that's called the fear nervous system. Unbeknownst to many people, probably you guys know because you've heard me speak before, there are 2 nervous systems. In general, the nervous system is the part of the body that transduces energy from the outside world into energy from the inside world. We see something, or we smell something, or we touch something, or we hear something, or we taste something via our senses, which are really external representations of the nervous systems. We hear, smell, touch, taste, or see something outside. It goes in through our eyes, or our nose, or our tongue, or our skin, or our ears, and that energy gets turned into biochemistry in the body via the nervous system. The nervous system is the bridge between the outside world of sights and sounds, etc., and biochemistry. It's the bridge. However, there's 2 nervous systems. There's a nervous system that converts energy that we perceive as safe into safety chemistry, biochemistry. And there's a nervous system that perceives danger signals or senses into danger biochemistry. So you have 2 nervous systems, the nervous system of safety and a nervous system of danger. Obviously, we want to be spending as much time in the nervous system of safety. The nervous system of danger keeps us alive if we're being chased by a tiger or a lion. It gives us energy to run It sends blood to the muscles and the lungs and the heart, so you can really move and you can run. Changes the blood pressure. It suppresses energy from systems that aren't necessary to keep you alive from when you're running from a saber-toothed tiger, but it keeps you alive. It's great. The problem with the way we've structured our society today is we have saber-toothed tigers 24/7. When our bodies were evolving on the African savanna, saber-toothed tiger was a rare occurrence. And when the saber-toothed tiger came, you would either survive or you would die. Today, we don't have saber-toothed tigers that kill us. We've got credit card bills, and we've got the New World Order, and we've got dysfunctional families, and we've got our jobs, and we've got our bills to pay, and we've got all of these saber-toothed tigers that don't kill us, but that just activate our danger nervous system. The danger nervous system, while it keeps us alive, does not allow us to thrive. The danger nervous system, the activation of the danger nervous system, while it keeps us alive, doesn't allow us to grow. It doesn't allow us to recover. It doesn't allow us to digest our food correctly. It doesn't allow us to have bowel movements. It doesn't allow us to be fertile. It doesn't allow us to be creative. The danger nervous system raises your blood pressure, because when you're running from a saber-toothed tiger, you're in a dangerous situation, you need to have higher pressure of blood. You need more blood being forced to the organs. The danger nervous system suppresses the thyroid functioning, because you don't need a thyroid when you're running from a saber-toothed tiger. When you're under conditions of the danger nervous system, you're not as creative, because blood is shunted from the front of your brain, where you make good decisions and you're creative and imaginative, to the back of your brain, to your what's called your fight or flight brain, or your reptilian brain. In fact, behind all chronic health challenges, whether you're talking about cancer or heart disease or Parkinson's disease or dementias or movement disorders or neurological problems, whatever it is, behind all chronic health conditions, you will find an activated danger nervous system. Now, if there's any healthcare professionals out there, you know I'm talking about, when I say the danger nervous system, you know I'm talking about the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight nervous system. It's what activates the fear response. It's a good thing on the African savanna that we have it. That's what allowed us to survive. And we're the descendants of ancestors whom figured out how to get away from tigers and lions and wild animals by having a very healthy survival nervous system. The problem with the survival nervous system today is it's active 24/7. In fact, one of the most classic manifestations of this sympathetic nervous system, this danger nervous system, is insomnia. And I don't know about in Australia, but I can assume it's the same there as it is here. We have an epidemic of insomnia. We have mattress commercials. You turn on the TV, you can't get away from it. Mattress commercials and pillow commercials and sheet commercials and formula commercials, all designed to give you a better sleep, because people can't sleep. Why? Because we're living in this danger nervous system milieu, in this environment of constant perceived danger, of a constantly activated fight or flight nervous system. That's the bad news. The good news is we have a relaxation nervous system that antagonizes or balances out the sympathetic or fight or flight nervous system. They live in balance. And while most of us, especially if we're sick, are in sympathetic overload, our sympathetic nervous system is overriding. They're both active all the time, but the sympathetic nervous system overrides for most of us, or for most people who are sick. We can reverse that situation by learning to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation nervous system, the safety nervous system versus the danger nervous system. And the quickest way to lower your blood pressure, to fall asleep, to reduce anxiety, to improve digestive functioning, to improve bowel movements, to improve fertility, to be more creative and to be more imaginative and more joyful and have more joie de vivre and more happiness and more fulfillment in life, is to learn to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. While the sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight nervous system, your parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system is activated when the body feels safe. The safety nervous system is the home of all the good things in life. And learning to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is job number one for having a great life. It's job number one for reversing sympathetic overload, which is responsible for aging and degeneration and disease. In fact, even the word dis-ease tells you you're out of ease. Sympathetic nervous system, you're out of ease. The parasympathetic nervous system, you're at ease. And there's many ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. You can activate the parasympathetic nervous system spiritually by being connected. Connection to God, connection to nature, connection to your friends, connection to your family activates the parasympathetic nervous system. You can activate the parasympathetic nervous system mentally by thinking good thoughts, by thinking positive thoughts, by thinking affirmative thoughts. Likewise, or conversely, you can activate the parasympathetic nervous system by thinking lousy thoughts, by thinking fearful thoughts, by thinking worrisome thoughts. You can activate the parasympathetic nervous system by being grateful. In fact, that's one of the fastest ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is with gratitude. In fact, for you guys out there listening either live or on Zoom or later on YouTube, when you can't fall asleep at night because your sympathetic nervous system has been activated by worry, by fear, by anxiety, if you just think of 5 things that you're grateful for, you'll start to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. In fact, right now, while you're sitting here, think of one thing you're grateful for, just think of it, and notice how your body relaxes just by thinking one thing. Now think of one thing you're scared about and notice, or worried about, or fearful about, and notice the opposite happens. You can feel this in your body itself. If you can't fall asleep tonight, pick 5 things you're grateful for. It could be your family, it could be your dog, it could be your kids, it could be your job, it could be your health, it could be your eyesight, it could be anything. Think of 5 things you're grateful for and run down the list, and then start from the top and run down the list again, and start from the top and run down the list again. You'll feel your body relaxing in the bed. Next thing you know, it'll be the morning, just by activating the parasympathetic nervous system by being grateful. Another quick way to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is through physical strategies. Physical strategies like slow, deep breathing. Lack of oxygen represents the most important physiologic fear that the body has. The most important fear we have is suffocation, a lack of oxygen. In fact, if you want to experience panic, which is the manifestation of the sympathetic nervous system, of the fight or flight nervous system, hold your breath. If you try holding your breath right now, most people can hold their breath for 5 or 10 or 15 seconds. After 15 seconds, you're going to notice that there's a little voice in your head that says it's time to breathe. And then if you say to that little voice, no, I'm doing an experiment now, I'm not going to breathe, you'll maybe hold your breath for another couple more seconds, and then you'll start to shake a little bit. And then you'll get really hot. And then you'll get really, really anxious. What you're experiencing is a dramatic manifestation of the fight or flight response, the fear response, the sympathetic nervous system response. The opposite happens when you take slow, deep breaths. Slow, deep breathing activates the rest and digest nervous system just as much as suffocation or holding your breath activates the sympathetic nervous system. The 2 sides of the same coin. The nervous system is the coin, the fear response on one side, and the relaxation response on the other side. There's actually a book, by the way, called The Relaxation Response by a guy named Dr. Herbert Benson, who's a medical doctor from Harvard University here in, or Yale, is either Harvard or Yale. I think it was Harvard. And he wrote a book called The Relaxation Response, where he talks about the key to relaxation and a healthy nervous system and the reversal of health challenges is slow, deep breathing, just relaxing through oxygenation and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, by the way, is more important than oxygen because carbon dioxide attracts oxygen. So slow, deep, rhythmic breathing is a great way to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. By the way, activation of the parasympathetic nervous system is very important for digestion. And one of the reasons for in this country, and probably in your country as well, are chronic digestive health problems that Americans have and Australians have, and that everybody in the West has pretty much, is activation of this fear response. This is why indigenous cultures and religious people and even intelligent people, before they eat food, they say grace. Why? Because saying grace is about gratitude. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is why you don't want to watch the news while you're eating, or argue with your spouse while you're eating, or eat in a business meeting, or eat when you're driving, or eat in a stressful situation, because the sympathetic nervous system, which is activated by stress, will shut down the digestive system. So eating when you're relaxed is another important strategy for good health. Eating when you're activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Likewise, for bowel movements, one of the classic manifestations of the fear response is constipation. Again, I'm assuming in Australia it's the same as the United States, but constipation is endemic because we're all living with this fear response. When the sympathetic nervous system is activated, you're not supposed to stop on the African savannah when you're running from a lion and have a bowel movement. So the digestive system, the intestine shuts down. So activating the parasympathetic nervous system when you're trying to have a bowel movement is one of the most important things you could do. And I don't mean to be gross here, but this is very important. When most people are constipated and they're having a bowel movement, what are they doing? They're holding, they're going, That activates the sympathetic nervous system. What you want to do is open up and relax and inhale, go, oh, everything opens up. That activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So learning how to activate the relaxation response, whether it's spiritually, mentally, emotionally, or physically, is critical for reversing chronic degenerative disease, returning the body back into ease. If you're frankly diseased, or you just want to prevent it, or you simply want to feel healthier, or you want to improve or enhance your longevity. So the SMEP, SMEP, critical to understand if you're going to get healthy. The idea that we're responsible for thriving, not the doctor, is also critical to understand if we're going to be healthy. And those are the two things I want to start off before I get into the triangle of disease. I want everybody to understand. Good health is our responsibility. It's not the doctor's responsibility. The tools for reversing chronic degenerative disease do not exist in the medical model any more than a carpenter has the tools to fix your engine. But we can do it ourselves. And secondly, health and wellness are not just about nutrition, as important as that is. It's multidimensional: spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. The four dimensions of healing. That being said, there's a tremendous amount we can do from a physiologic perspective to reverse chronic degenerative disease. Now, I'm very fortunate as a healthcare professional in the sense that I have a lot of data points because I talk to a lot of people, and I've been doing this a long time. I don't only see people in my practice as a pharmacist, but I do public speaking, and I'm on radio, and I do presentations. And so I get letters, and I talk to large amounts of people. So over the last 40 years, I've seen a lot of data points. So I have developed some ideas that most people don't have, certainly most lay people don't have, simply because I've seen these things over and over again. I always get a kick out of people who, when I'm doing talks, they always tell me directly, or they imply that I'm really smart. I'm not really smart. I've just seen a lot of things. There's nothing. This is not about being smart. This is just about getting a lot of data points, a lot of sample points, so that I developed some theories about how disease progresses and what we can do about it. And by seeing people with chronic health challenges over and over and over and over again over the last 40 years, I noticed that all chronic disease has 3 points of bodily breakdown underneath it. And this is what I call the triangle of disease. The triangle of disease are the 3 points in the body that break down, develop mentally, sequentially, one after another, from the time we're born to the time the disease, the full-blown disease shows up. And these 3 points of bodily breakdown, on the bad news is, if you don't address them, there's nothing you can do about your disease state. And that's why no matter how many doctors we have and drugs we have and hospitals and protocols and insurance companies and devices and all the different accoutrements of our modern health model that we have, nobody's getting better. We're sicker than ever before. It's because we're not addressing these fundamental bodily breakdowns that underlie all chronic disease. The good news is no matter what your health challenge is, I don't care what it is, if it's a chronic disease, a degenerative disease where the body keeps breaking down more and more and more, if you address these 3 points, any disease will resolve. And you don't have to be a doctor to do it. You don't have to understand medicine. You don't have to go to medical school. You don't need to understand all the different parts of the body. You don't need to have a medical degree. You don't need to read a lot of books. It's just logical. Anybody can do this. And these 3 points of bodily breakdown that are sequential need to be addressed. But even if you address the first point, you'll start to get results. And the second point more and more, and then the third point even more. The 3 points of bodily breakdown that comprise the triangle of disease break down from, they start breaking down. The triangle disease starts moving as soon as we're born for most people, sometimes even in the womb. But for most people, as soon as we're born, and then progresses into the second point and then the third point, and then the third point of bodily breakdown, the tip of the triangle, leads to the first point again, which leads to the second point, back to the tip, first point, second point, third point, back to the tip, and on it goes in this downward spiral of degeneration that gets worse and worse and worse. But as soon as you break it, your disease symptoms will begin to resolve. So what are these 3 points of bodily breakdown that comprise the triangle of disease? Number 1, the digestive system. Number 2, the blood sugar system. Number 3, the adrenal thyroid complex. I'm going to talk about each one of these 3. So first and foremost, you have the digestive system. Now, I talk about the you guys probably know, you all heard me speak before, I assume. You all know I always talk about the digestive system. It's critical to understand, no matter what your health challenge is, that if you start to work with digestive health, every single symptom you have will slowly begin to resolve, sometimes fast. I don't care what it is, whether it's autoimmunity or Alzheimer's disease or dementias or movement disorders or heart disease or even cancer. They will all improve once you improve digestive health, and improving digestive health is as simple as not eating. I'll elaborate on that here in a moment. So the digestive system is where the outside world meets the inside world. The digestive system starts in your mouth and goes down your esophagus into your stomach and then into your intestine, at which point the food drops from your stomach into the intestine and it's hit with digestive juices from the pancreas and the gallbladder and the liver. And then food moves through the intestine and then comes out your body. And that's basically the digestive system. And any one of these systems can go awry. Usually it's the stomach, the gallbladder, the pancreas, and the intestine and the liver. Most people don't have a problem chewing, but that is the beginning of the digestive process. The digestive system is not fully developed when a baby is born. Babies are born early. They're born before they're fully developed. And so the digestive system and the immune system, and also the nervous system, and the brain, are not fully developed when a baby is born. Nature has designed the human body, the human baby, to come out of the womb a little bit early because human heads are very big. And as you women can attest to, it's bad enough trying to deliver a baby as it is. Imagine if the head was even bigger. So because humans have such big heads, nature has designed them to come out a little bit early. Otherwise, the head would be too big. And you could, ladies, I can see you smiling out there. If you've had a baby, you know what I'm talking about, right? Can you imagine if the head was even bigger? So the baby human babies come out of the birth canal a little bit early. They come out before their digestive system and their immune system is fully activated, but that's no problem, because nature has a mechanism for developing the intestine and developing the immune system. And that mechanism is a food that's the perfect food for developing a baby, which is obviously, as you all know, breast milk. Breast milk is specifically designed by nature with the nutrients for building the intestine and building the immune system. However, oh, I should tell you this, one more thing I forgot to say. When a baby's born and comes out of the birth canal, the baby is coated with bacteria. And that bacterial coating that the baby has as he passes through the birth canal is a bunch of bacteria that will go into the baby's nose and into the baby's mouth and go down the baby's digestive tract into the intestine, where the bacteria will implant in the intestine. And those bacteria in the intestine, from that point forward, will become that baby, soon to be that child, and then that adult's best health friends. Those bacteria will become that baby, and then that child, and that adult's health angels. Those bacteria will make vitamins for the baby. Those bacteria will detoxify poisons for the baby. Those bacteria will process hormones for that baby. Those bacteria will communicate to the intestine and talk to the intestine, the digestive system of that baby. Those bacteria will talk to the brain of the baby. Those bacteria will be that baby's best health friends. In fact, those bacteria will act like a source of genetic material for the baby. Those bacteria will actually be a library of genetic information for that baby. So those bacteria are critically important, and the way nature set up the system, they implant in the baby's intestine through the birth canal, through its journey through the birth canal. The mothers have bacteria in their birth canal. Those bacteria coat the baby, they go into the baby's system, and they implant in that baby. So between bacteria and breast milk, the intestine and the immune system develop and become strong and healthy. However, we know that a large proportion of mothers don't have the right bacteria. And so when the baby passes through the birth canal, that baby doesn't get the right bacteria. Even worse, some 30% of babies are born cesarean section. They don't even get the bacteria. They come out the back door, or the front door, whichever way you look at it. So those babies don't even get the bacteria, and that's about 30% of babies right off the bat. So right off the bat, the baby is just born. He's already health compromised at the level of the digestive system, at least 30% or so of those babies, maybe more if you factor in the babies whose mothers don't have the right bacteria in their birth canal. And then if you factor in mothers who are not taking care of their nutrition, or are not healthy, or have had health problems themselves while they're developing, while the baby's in the womb, they may be malforming a digestive tract. Long story short, for most, if not for many, if not most babies, from day one, they are compromised at the level of the digestive system. For many, if not most. And for older people like us, I'm 63, going on 64, and I'm looking at some of you guys, you're probably about the same age as I am, it's even worse. Because at least now we know about the bacteria. In the 1950s and 1960s, we didn't know about that. In the 1950s and 1960s, 1940s and 50s and 60s, breast milk was considered passé. It was considered old-fashioned. Everybody was put on formula. So a large majority of the population, and an even larger percentage of sick people in the population, are suffering from intestinal and digestive problems that began at day one. Now, that's bad enough, because the digestive system is number one, where the outside world meets the inside world. So you have an immune system there. And if you have any kind of immune problem, you can rest assured it's beginning in the digestive system. The immune system is your defense system. The classic example of immune problem is autoimmune disease. And all autoimmune diseases start off in the digestive system. And anybody out there who has multiple sclerosis, or myasthenia gravis, or type 1 diabetes, or psoriasis, or lupus, or scleroderma, there's about 80 to 100 different autoimmune diseases. And there's about 30 million or 30 to 35 million Americans who have them. Probably 10% of your population has it too, if not more. The first thing you could do for an autoimmune patient to resolve their symptoms is have them stop eating, or at least watch out for problem foods. We'll talk about that here in a second. When the digestive system is compromised, two things happen. Number one, you do not process nutrients correctly. Digestive system is where you process nutrients, food. So number one, When your digestive system is not firing on all cylinders, you're not processing food correctly. Number two, when the digestive system is not functioning correctly, toxicity leaks into the blood. The intestine is a source of a lot of toxicity because we don't eat correctly, number one, and bacteria that live in the intestine are supposed to stay in the intestine. When they get out of the intestine, they can create problems with toxicity, or when their secretions or pieces of bacteria get into the bloodstream, they can initiate immune and defensive and inflammatory reactions in the body. So the digestive system is the seat of disease, number one, because when it breaks down, we don't get energy. And number two, because when it breaks down, we become toxic. When the digestive system is not working as it should, imagine your baby is now born. He's now a year old or 6 months old or 3 months old. His digestive system's not working like it should. And you can tell because he's going to have colon problems. Colon problems will show up as stool issues, either constipation or diarrhea. Colon problems will show up as reflux, heartburn, esophageal disease, gastroesophageal disease. I remember when I was working in the pharmacy, I would have to make baby Zantac. Zantac is a medicine that they use for the digestive system for adults. I have to make it for babies, newborns. When the digestive system in infants is not working correctly and the intestine isn't working correctly, they will have the other word for the intestine is the colon. They will become colicky. A colicky baby is a baby that has a colon problem, and they will be grumpy, and they will be irritable, and they will be irritable and grumpy and colicky, partially because they're not getting enough energy. So what we do as parents, when our baby is colicky, what do? We give them energy. The energy we give them is usually apple juice or pear juice or popsicles or applesauce or a banana or baby food, all of which contain high concentrations of sugar. And that sugar satisfies the baby for a short period of time. However, when sugar goes into the baby's system, insulin comes and pulls the sugar back out because sugar is very dangerous for the body. You have to have a little bit of sugar, but too much sugar initiates an insulin response that pulls sugar out of the blood. Now the baby has low blood sugar and he's cranky again. We give him more sugar and insulin pulls the sugar out of the blood. We give him more sugar and insulin pulls the sugar out of the blood, and on this goes. This is the second point of the triangle of disease, which is the blood sugar system. And for many babies, children, they suffer from a condition that we had to rename. We used to have a condition in this country and in your country called adult onset diabetes. And adult onset diabetes a mere 40 or 50 years ago was, as the name implied, a condition that only happened to adults. But since 1980, we've had to change the name of adult onset diabetes. We don't call it adult onset diabetes anymore because now kids get it. It's called we now call it type 2 diabetes instead of adult onset diabetes. And it is an epidemic and it's getting worse every year. It's getting worse every day. It's now estimated that half of the world, within 10 years, half of the world will be type 2 diabetes. It's a disastrous situation for biochemistry because once your blood sugar starts to become unstable, you don't process energy correctly, number one. So you feel fatigued all the time. And sugar builds up in the blood. Sugar is very dangerous. It burns things. And when it burns blood vessels in the eye, sugar can cause blindness and eye problems. When it burns blood vessels in the fingers and toes, it can cause amputations and neuropathies. When it burns blood vessels in the kidneys, it can cause kidney disease, all of which are blood sugar issues. What's worse is when the blood sugar when blood sugar drops, and keep in mind, blood sugar drops after blood sugar becomes high. So when you eat sugar, the body pulls that sugar out of the blood. It causes low blood sugar. And during that low blood sugar period, we start to secrete energy from the adrenal glands. That's emergency energy. Low blood sugar, when your blood sugar is low, that's considered an emergency for the body. The body will secrete emergency hormones. And those emergency hormones give you jittery energy, but they give you energy. They're survival energy. Over the course of time, as cortisol levels become chronically elevated, the thyroid will begin to slow down to compensate. for this jittery energy, this cortisol energy is constantly being secreted. When the thyroid starts to slow down, that's called hypothyroidism. Some people call it myxedema. When the thyroid slows down, it will suppress digestive functioning because the thyroid controls the digestive system. When the digestive system is compromised, that will affect the blood sugar system, which will affect the adrenal thyroid complex, which will further affect the digestive system, which will affect the blood sugar system, which will further suppress the affect the adrenal thyroid complex, causing further suppression of the digestive system. And this whole triangle will continue to revolve endlessly until we're diagnosed with a chronic degenerative disease, and then until we die. That's the triangle of disease. It begins with birth at the level of the intestine. It progresses to the blood sugar system to create what's called dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar. I didn't say diabetes, by the way. I said dysglycemia because a lot of people have dysglycemia but have not been diagnosed as diabetic. So it's messed up blood sugar, which affects the adrenals and the thyroid. Those are the 3 points of bodily breakdown. And if you have cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, any autoimmune disease, any of the thousands of different medical diagnoses that you can have, and you have not addressed the triangle of disease, you won't get better. However, if you do address the triangle of disease, it doesn't matter what your diagnosis is, they will all improve. And quickly, within a week, you'll start to notice resolution of symptoms, sometimes within a day or two. And you can show this yourself by doing the most important thing a human being can do when they're suffering from this chronic triad or this chronic triangle of bodily breakdown, which is to stop the stream of toxicity that enters into the digestive system through the mouth, i.e. fasting. Fasting for 1 or 2 days is the quickest way to notice a resolution of all degenerative disease symptoms. And if anybody wants to read a really interesting book that talks about this, get a book called The Wahls Protocol. Wahls is W-A-H-L-S. Dr. Terry Wahls was a medical doctor who had one of the worst autoimmune diseases there is, which is called multiple sclerosis, which is where the nervous system becomes sclerotic. It becomes hard and fibrous, and you don't conduct energy through the nervous system as effectively, and you become paralyzed. And it's a terribly tragic disease because it affects people in their prime of their life. Well, like all autoimmune diseases, all of them, they start off in the intestine. And Terry Wahls, medical doctor, medically trained, board certified, not an alternative practitioner, she cured herself. She literally cured herself. And she describes it in the book, The Wahls Protocol, simply by laying off of certain foods, including gluten. So the triangle of disease is critical to understand if you're going to reverse any degenerative health challenge. And if you don't address the triangle of disease, there's no way that any health challenge will resolve itself. And in a nutshell, that's the reason why our medical model has failed us, is because these 3 points of bodily breakdown are not being addressed. But for us here in this room, the good news is the triangle of disease can be addressed through lifestyle choices. And while there's no drugs that can address the triangle of disease, there's no surgical procedures that can address the triangle of disease. In fact, there's nothing in the doctor's little magic bag of tricks that can affect or improve the triangle of disease. We can do it ourselves, and it starts with food from a physical perspective. Now, keep in mind spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, but from a physical perspective, it starts with food. Not because I'm Mr. Organic guy or Mr. Health Food guy or, David Avocado Wolf and I only eat good food, and not because of that. It's because the digestive system is where the body breaks down first. And there's no health challenge that does not involve a digestive system breakdown as a primary fundamental point of bodily breakdown, of bodily disease. And it's simple to do. You do a food, first thing you want to do is fast. And for most symptoms, you'll notice relief right away when you fast. Second thing you want to do is you want to do a food diary where you write down everything you eat and you see how your body responds. Most people who have health challenges will notice that they start to feel better when they fast. In fact, some people don't even want to eat again. They feel so good when they fast. Maybe you've experienced this. That's one of the things that happens when you stop eating for a day or two after you get over the hump. You don't want to eat because you feel so good. So understanding how to eliminate problem foods, and then lastly, making sure you're using digestive support nutrition, especially the nightly essence from Longevity, the ultimate enzymes from Longevity, We used to have a wonderful product, which unfortunately we don't have anymore, called the Daily Digest. Oh, well, Ultimate Microbiome from Youngevity. One of the cool things about the Youngevity nutritional lines, there's a lot of different digestive support supplements. One of my favorites is called I-26, which I believe you have down there. So you work on digestive health through elimination, through fasting, elimination of problem foods, and then using digestive support. Then you get on the Healthy Start Pack. You reduce your intake of refined sugars and carbohydrates, and do strategies, nutritional strategies that help you lower your blood sugar. One of the fastest ways to lower your blood sugar is with something called water, especially first thing in the morning. Drinking water will dilute your blood sugar. I got an interesting email this morning from a friend of mine. She wanted to know if I heard about the Dawn syndrome. I love how there's all these different names of different conditions that the body goes to. One is called the Dawn syndrome. The Dawn syndrome is when first thing in the morning your blood sugar is high. Anybody out there who's a diabetic knows if they test their blood sugar is elevated first thing in the morning. That's because during the night you've lost water. You've urinated a couple times. You haven't drinking any water. You sweated. All of these cause dehydration and concentration of the blood. You drink water, you dilute your blood sugar. Of course, you can also use all the nutrients in the Healthy Start Pack. And I always throw in the Fuchs Z and the Ultimate Selenium and the MSM, Ultimate MSM into the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, and the Ultimate Zinc, because all of those are also secondary ways that you can support blood sugar. And then you work on your adrenal thyroid complex by telling the body to stand down. Just by working on the first 2 points of the triangle of disease, the adrenals will respond positively, but you can also calm the body down through meditation, slow, deep breathing, gratitude, all the things we talked about at the beginning. Activating the parasympathetic nervous system is telling the adrenal glands to stand down. That will begin to restore thyroid function. So working on the triangle of disease is on us. Nothing the doctor can do about it, but we can do it ourselves through logic, through good living, and through Youngevity nutritional supplementation. And that's the triangle of disease. And that's the cliff notes. There's a lot more to talk about, but we got about 15 minutes here, a little less if you guys have specific questions.
And every time I hear you, I get so many more nuggets. I thank you so much for pouring in. Would everybody agree they got a lot out of all that?
Thank you.
And I know we had some new people here too, so this will be like wow.
Well, how many? I only see. I don't. Can you just move just a hair to the? No, not. Oh, no, Tracy. If you move your body just a little bit this way, I want to see who's there. Okay, so I see about 20 people.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Who are the new people who are just new to Youngevity?
Did we just want to stand our 3 new guests that are here today? We got Tanya, Michael, and Marilyn.
Okay, great. Well, welcome to the family. First of all, and we are a family, as Tracy could tell you. We all love each other, and we're all the same type of people. And that is people who want to make a difference, people who want to help. You know, we do a Zoom call. You probably know this. Me and Rebecca do a Zoom call, and we're doing one here in about an hour or so, or 40 minutes or so. We do a Zoom call where we introduce ourselves to new distributors and also the Daily with Doc show. And we get calls from people who are interested in joining Youngevity. And I said to Rebecca, what is it that all of these callers have in common? And she said to me, everybody who's interested in Youngevity wants to start a business where they help people, where they help people at the most basic level there is, which is the level of good health. And that's what all of Youngevity people have in common is the distributors, even the people who use the products, but especially the distributors. And Tracy can affirm this for you. We all want to make a difference in the world, a positive difference in the world. We all want to make money. We're all entrepreneurs, and we're all understand that being an entrepreneur is not for everybody, but we like the entrepreneur lifestyle. And that is true about being an entrepreneur. There's ups and there's downs, and you're working, but you're your own boss, and the rewards are all yours. It's a beautiful way to live, and I wouldn't want to live any other way, but it's not for everybody. But if you are an entrepreneur and you like the entrepreneur lifestyle, the Youngevity business opportunity gives you a business that you can use to make money and make a living, and a good living sometimes if you do it right, and make a positive difference in the world. It's the perfect win-win business opportunity. What Youngevity is about, and this is not just for the new people, it's for everybody, we are a light in the darkness. There are so many people out there who want to supplement but don't know how. They don't know what products to buy. They don't know what companies' products to buy. They don't know what systems to use. They're buying this and they're buying that because they heard this on the internet, and this from their mother, and this from their friend, and this from their doctor, and this from their esthetician, and this from the lady at the department store, and they're trying to put things together and they don't know where to go. What longevity does is it makes nutrition and health simple to incorporate into your life through systems. Number one, we got all of these incredible packs, the healthy blood sugar pack and healthy brain and heart pack and the healthy bone and joint pack, and wonderful products that we know where they're made and we know who's formulated them, and information from people like myself and Dr. Glidden and Dr. Wallach and Dr. Joanne Conaway and Fred Van Loo. And I mean, there's a whole, and Kevin Grundy, who lives down there. I'm not sure if you know who Kevin is. He lives in New Zealand. There's so many people who are here to help you help your friends and help you help your business. You don't have to know. I mean, this is not complicated really, but you don't have to know everything about nutrition because we're here to help. So longevity is like a light in the darkness, and you want to consider yourselves as beacons that are helping change people's lives, people who want to have their lives changed and who don't trust or who aren't getting the kind of health satisfaction that they need and that they deserve from the modern medical model. And there's millions upon millions upon millions of people like that who need us. And don't underestimate your ability and your power to change lives through this platform, this longevity platform, through the information that we provide, as well as the products that we sell.
Well, they did ask for some inspiration today, so would you agree? You guys got
I hope that's inspiring, because that's what it should be. And we should all be inspiring each other. And if I inspired you, praise God, I'm so happy that I did. Now you go inspire others, inspire your children, inspire your parents, inspire your neighbors, inspire your friends, because that's the greatest thing that we can do, is inspire people to take care of their health. Because at the end of the day, when you're suffering from a chronic degenerative disease, nothing else matters. And if we can make a difference in people's lives who are suffering like that, that is truly, truly the Lord's work. And that's what we're here to do.
Thank you very much, very much. And Marilyn, just as you were speaking earlier about doing your fasting, she reached leaned into me and said she just finished a 3-day fast.
3 days.
Yeah. How'd you feel?
Excellent. Really good.
Right? Isn't that amazing? Because you say, oh, well, I have to eat. Well, how am I going to get energy? No, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Jesus fasted for 40 days. You can fast for a day or 2 or 3. And then when you start eating again, and tell me if I'm right, you eat much less.
You do.
And much care, right?
Yeah.
Look, you guys, this is as big as your stomach. This is how big your stomach is. That ain't very big. That's not even half a sandwich. And you don't even need that much. And that's one of the great things, one of the great ironies of eating. We always think we need more than we really need, right, Marilyn? We think it's impossible to not eat. But when you don't eat, you notice that not only is it possible, but you feel really good. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
It's fantastic because since you've talked about it, I now have been very consistent almost every 3 months to do a 3-day water fast.
Yeah.
I call it a 5 hydration fast because I utilize clearly our hydration sticks to keep me
Nice.
but I pushed myself, my record, I did 100 hours. I did 4 days just last week to reset. And like you said, it just gets easier and easier.
Yeah.
And I light up like a Christmas tree.
And you guys, look how beautiful Tracy is. Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that. Right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, is that Ken in the back in that pink shirt?
Yes,
That
buddy,
is
it's
Ken in the
me.
back.
Ken.
Hey, buddy,
I'm
I'm not going to say anything about our ice cream fetish that we no longer have.
Okay, don't say anything. But if I knew you were there, I would have worn my green suit.
Of course.
I know. I didn't know you were here. I didn't know.
I've still got the colours, mate.
It's good, and it's nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Ben.
Now, before we let you go, we offered the audience, was there anybody here that had a question for Ben that they would like to ask him before I ask any? Anybody sitting there, Steve? Please come have a seat, Steve, and by all means, here we go. Here's one of our Wallach warriors with outstanding testimony.
Hello,
great.
Ben, it's
Hi.
lovely to see you. This is the closest I've been to the flesh. Honoured.
Okay.
Can you, is it possible, or should we rank your mental, spiritual, physical needs, and then rank the digestion, absorption? Can we, as a whole, as a herd, a tribe, have a go-to chassis?
I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding.
All right.
Before you start, before you start, hang on.
mentioned
Before you start,
before-
hang on. Before
That's
you
all
start,
right.
tell me your name one more time. Ken?
Steve.
Steve. Okay. So Steve I call SMEP, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, SMEP. Okay. And then the 3 points of bodily breakdown, the triangle of disease: digestive, blood sugar, adrenal, thyroid. So now what's your question about those two?
Right. So would SMEP be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the others coming behind?
No, SMEP is the master plan. The digestive system is part of the physical dimension. So you have a master plan: spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. The physical involves nutrition, exercise, movement, and rest. I'm sorry, nutrition, respiration, movement, and rest.
And
I call that's the physical dimension. The fourth, you have SMEP, that's the master plan. Okay. Spirituality involves the fear response. Mentality is how we think. Emotions are how we emote. And physical is how we eat, how we breathe, how we move, and how we rest. In fact, I call that the fourfold square of health. So you have the triangle of disease and you have the fourfold square of health, and those are subcategories of the P of SMEP. Spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. Physical is the triangle of disease, that's disease, and the fourfold square of health, that's health.
And how about with SMEP? Are they all 25% each, or is there a 50?
No. They all lead into each other. They all overlap. Because as your spirituality is going to affect how you think is going to affect how you feel, and how you feel is going to affect your physical life, the physical manifestation. So they all lead into each other.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you so much, Steve. Nice to see you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Michael has a question. Come lean in, Michael.
Not necessarily a question,
Okay.
as in, I was going to tell you my situation.
Hi,
Can you hear me
Michael.
okay?
You said Michael, right?
Yes.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, mate. My situation now is I have a spondylitis condition.
I know all about it. Ankylosing spondylitis.
Yeah, possibly, but
It's arthritis. It's basically arthritis. And
they're talking about vasculitis now as well.
Now it involves the vascular system too. It involves the blood vessels, the vascularity.
Yeah, and I haven't been able to get off the prednisone.
Well,
I can get down to 6 milligrams.
well, no, hang on. You haven't been able to get off the prednisone because you haven't solved the problem.
That's right.
Okay, so now based on our model of the triangle of disease, right? Based on our model of the triangle of disease, we're going to solve your problem for you. Okay? So spondylitis and ankylosing spondylitis and vasculitis, what's the most important part of the word spondylitis or vasculitis?
Itis.
Itis. Okay, so you know a little something here, Michael. What does itis mean?
Inflammation, is it?
Okay, we're getting somewhere here. So isn't that interesting? You have vasculitis, so you got to go to a vasculitis doctor. You have spondylitis, you got to go to a spondylitis doctor, but it's the same problem. Inflammation. What is, right? It's inflammation. And all chronic disease has this problem. There's no chronic disease that is not caused by some kind of inflammation. So then we have to ask if we're going to solve this problem. And remember, this is not as much medicine as it is engineering. This involves something called troubleshooting, working backwards. Are you an engineer, an IT guy, or a scientist, or a physicist, anything like that? Okay.
No.
So in engineering, we have a concept called troubleshooting. When we want to solve an engineering problem or a computer problem, we troubleshoot. You troubleshoot by working backwards. You have spondylitis and vasculitis. The operative word is itis. So we have an inflammatory problem. We're working backwards here. The key question, and I'll tell you the answer if you don't know, but I want you to think about this. What is inflammation? Now, before you answer, let me ask you this. Do you think it's important to know what inflammation is for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, of course it is. You're suffering because of inflammation. We got to know what it is. What is inflammation, Michael?
Well, I'm not 100% sure what's.
Stop right there. Stop right there. That's an honest answer. Do you see the problem? You're not. You have this issue. Clearly, you know you have this issue, and you don't know what's causing it. So, job number one is we got to figure out what this thing called inflammation is, and it's not complicated, not at all. Inflammation is your best friend from a physical perspective. Everybody hear that? Inflammation is our best friend. You said, what? Oh my God. Inflammation is my problem. I got vasculitis. I got itis. I got spondylitis, itis. How can you say inflammation is your best friend? Inflammation is behind these diseases, but inflammation is not the problem. Inflammation is a sign of the problem. It's your dashboard light telling you that the engine's messed up. Is that a problem? If you took a hammer and knocked out the engine light, you know what I'm talking about? They call it, I don't want to say it's called an idiot light. I don't mean to be offensive, but you know what I'm talking about? The lights on the dashboard, what do they call this? I don't know if they call them, but anyway, it tells you you're low on oil, you're low on brake fluid, you're low on water, whatever it is. You take a hammer and knock that off. That's not the problem. The problem's in your engine. Inflammation is a protective response. It's a defensive response. When you break your leg and it's swollen, what is that? Inflammation. If you get punched in the eye and you get a black eye, what is that? Inflammation. If you have a big old pimple or zit or a boil on your face, what is that? Inflammation. So what the heck is going on? Inflammation occurs on two sizes. You have inflammation that causes a black eye. We'll use a black eye as an example. Well, you have inflammation that causes a black eye. That's called macro inflammation. Macro means big. You see it. It's right there. But there's another kind of inflammation that's the same thing, but it happens in a tiny, tiny, tiny little space. That tiny little space is the inflammation around a cell. A cell is the smallest unit of life, and cells suffer from inflammation like your eye suffers from inflammation. And the cause of that inflammation is the same. When you get a black eye, your body will protect itself by causing swelling, by causing fibers to form, by causing fluid to accumulate, and all of that acts like a cushion, like a beaver's dam to sequester that area. Does it make sense? Are you with me?
Yeah.
It looks like you're not with me here. Tell me if you're not. Okay, you've
Yeah,
got
no,
inflammation. Inflammation is a protective response, and it occurs in a big way, which we can see, but it also occurs in a microscopic way. And when you have vasculitis, or you have arthritis, or you have bursitis, or you have polyneuritis, or you have spondylitis, you have microinflammation. So then the question is what is my body protecting itself from? What's the protective response? Here, we know I got punched in the eye and my body's protecting myself, protecting the damage from the punch. What is the microscopic punch that's occurring? Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Remember, we're troubleshooting. We're working backwards. Make sense so far?
Yeah, they're blaming my immune system for being.
Hang on. To work with me here. I want this to feel really comfortable to you so you can heal yourself. You can be your own health authority. Your doctor can't help you, but you can help you. Okay? And everybody here, listen, this is important because this is going to make you powerful. So I'm not just playing games here or being semantic or trying to be cute. I want you to really feel this and know this so you can become a health authority for yourself and ideally for other people too, and everybody listening. So your body's protecting itself. You have a protective response. You have a defensive response. The question I'll ask you, if I want to end a protective response, if I want to end, you agree we want to end a protective response here, right? We want to end the inflammation, correct? Okay, so if I want to end a defensive response, if I want to end a protective response, I have several ways I could do it. I could take a drug that just shuts it off. I could do that. That's what you're doing, prednisone. But what's another way we can end a protective response? What can we look for?
What we're looking for.
If we want to end, I'll give you a clue. Listen to my words. If we want to end a defensive response, what do we want to look for?
That's what you've already talked about.
Don't answer the question. If we want to end a defensive response, what do we want to look for? Anybody out there? We want to end.
What's causing it?
Nervous system.
Right, exactly. But I was trying to get you to see this. You're right though. When we want to end a defensive response, we want to look for an offending agent. Offense, defense. I know you play soccer out there. You look like an athlete. You probably played a little soccer in your day, right? You got offense, you got defense. In football, in real football, we got offense and we got defense. Just kidding. That was a joke. Nobody laughed out there. Okay? Don't get mad at me. So in American football, rugby, or basketball, you got offense, you got defense. So if you have a defensive response you want to end, we got to find the offending agent. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna change your life if you understand this, and you're gonna help other people. Okay, you have a defensive response. You just say, "I want to," and come in the camera a little bit so I can see you.
Oh, sorry.
Now come this way. Move this way.
I can see me in here.
Yeah, perfect. Right, that's
Oh,
good.
yeah.
I was only seeing like half your face. Okay,
Sorry.
no worries. So you have a defensive response, correct? Say correct, so I know you understand. We have a defensive response,
Yes.
right? That's inflammation. So now logic, all logic, no medicine, no science, no doctor, no degree, logic. You have a defensive response you want to end. We want to find the offending agent, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, how does an offending agent get into your body? You can inject it, and guess what? People who inject things IV, they get spondylitis, they get vasculitis, they get arthritis, they get diseases. They inject through the skin because they're introducing things into their blood. But you're not injecting, you're not off in the back alley shooting up crack, and you're not doing injections. So what's the other way things get into the body? Let me rub my chin a little bit. How do things get into the body? Tell me, help me out.
Oh, I've changed a lot of what I'm eating.
Tell me, no, you're working together here. How do things get into the body?
Through your mouth, through your nose.
Through food. No, through food. Your nose a little bit, but you have mucous membranes, you have filters. It's food. And I could have told you it's food, but I want you to see it's food. I could have just said to you, oh, it's food. I could have, and we've saved 15 minutes, but I want you to see this. I don't want to be the guy who just tells you what to do. I want you to understand this. I don't want to be your authority. I want you to be your authority. Do you understand? You see the power here? I don't want, and you shouldn't, distributors, longevity people, we don't want people to think we're in charge and we're the boss and we're the authority. They are. You want them to understand. So behind all itis, you have a food problem, number one, but it's a little more complicated, okay? Because once the intestine becomes compromised over the course of time, as we eat incorrectly, or we're constantly attacking it, or we're not getting enough nutrition, or from birth, or from breastfeeding, or lack of breastfeeding, or from a cesarean section, like I was telling you at the beginning of the triangle, we get holes in the intestine. The intestine becomes more permeable. Under ordinary circumstances, nothing's supposed to get into the bloodstream before it's been vetted any more than I can go to Australia before I go to immigration. When I went to Australia, I didn't go right into the country. I had to go through immigration. They had to ask me questions, what I was doing there, who I was seeing there, and how much money I had, and what was in my suitcase, and all kinds of questions. They were vetting me. The body's the same way. The intestine has to vet everything that gets into the bloodstream. There's border guards. However, as we age, as the impact of nutritional deficiencies and problem foods kick in, as this progression of the triangle of disease moves on developmentally, our border guards fall asleep. They become sick. They're not as effective, and foods get into the intestine, into the bloodstream. But it's even worse than that, because the bacteria that live in the intestine produce gases and chemicals, things like histamine and a chemical called TMAO. They leak into the bloodstream, and they create an emergency an activation of the emergency nervous system in the immune system. We used to have a show here in America called Lost in Space. Did you ever see Lost in Space, that TV show? Did they have that in Australia a long time ago?
Yes, I did.
Yes? Okay.
Danger
So
Will
they had
Robinson.
you remember the robot? You remember the robot in Lost in Space? Remember this? Danger, 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 Will Robinson. That's your bloodstream. That's the bloodstream when histamine gets in. That's the bloodstream when gluten gets in. That's the bloodstream when toxins from bacteria get in. Take this to the bank, everybody. This condition, which is technically referred to as SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, are behind all disease, including yours, my friend. So you said to me something very interesting, and I kind of glossed past it, but it's not that I didn't hear it. I heard it. You said, I'm already doing things, right? So you're already doing things, right? So tell me have you noticed improvements? Have you noticed changes? Have you noticed that things get worse when you do certain things? Things get better when you do other things?
Well, not necessarily, because
There's not necessarily yes or no. Not necessarily.
No,
Yes
I haven't noticed big
Okay.
changes.
Okay. Then you haven't done it correctly. Then you haven't done enough. Then you're missing something. This is why doing a food fasting first. Have you fasted, by the way? Have you ever fasted?
Don't worry.
Okay, got it. But when you do fast, you're going to notice your symptoms start to resolve to the extent you fast. I'm 100% guaranteeing it, not 99.9, 100% guaranteeing you that if you stop putting food in your system, you'll reach a point where your symptoms start to subside. Maybe not go away entirely, but eventually they'll probably will go away entirely, but you got to eat. Then you start eating. But when you're eating, you notice the response, the physiologic response to the specific foods you're eating. And there will be certain foods that make you flare up. And by the way, you must know that you flare up. You get flares, right? It's not steadily the same. It can't be steadily the same because you're not living the same way. So things fluctuate in the body. So when your body flares up, that's your best friend. That's real-time data. When you flare up, that's telling you what just happened within the last couple of hours. And usually you'll find it's a certain type of food. Now, keep in mind, and this is also very important for everybody listening, it could be avocados, it could be broccoli, it could be lettuce, it could be peaches, it could be apples, it could be cherries, it could be things that you think are organic or vegetable or are good foods. It doesn't have to be French fries, although those are obviously hideous. It doesn't have to be donuts. It could be eggplant. It could be salad. It could be something that you think is a good food that has histamine in it, or that has salicylates in it, or that has one of the most problematic ingredients in foods that we think are good foods, that should be good foods, are sugars called FODMAPs. Have you heard of this term, FODMAPs? FODMAPs?
No.
No. Okay. So when you get home, you look like a smart guy. When you get home, look up FODMAPs. Okay. This is what I want you to do. Okay. This is a quid pro quo. I am helping you out a little bit. I want you to help me out. Okay. Tonight, go home, look up FODMAPs, FODMAPs. Okay. Look up SIBO, SIBO, and look up. Are you with somebody?
Yeah, I'm
Have them right. Have them right. Okay. Have them right. FODMAPs, SIBO, and then spondylitis.
Yep.
Okay. And then now this quid pro quo, right? We're buddies here, right? You're gonna help me out. I help you. You're gonna help me. I want you to send me an email back and tell me what you found.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll give you a little prediction. You're gonna find that you're eating FODMAPs foods. You're gonna find that your symptoms are related to specific not related necessarily causally, but they'll flare when you have certain FODMAPs foods. Okay. And you're going to be blown away by what happens. And you can't write this to me right away in a couple of days, but what happens when you start to make changes in what you think are good foods and what you're eating regularly that you said, oh my God, I'm just having salad. What the heck? How could salad? Salad is a huge digestive health problem because of these FODMAPs. Okay. So look up FODMAPs, look up the relation to spondylitis, and then look up, and then let me know after you fast how you're feeling. And you guys, I have another call I've got here at 7 o'clock. Did I help you, Steve? And I hope you and I are going to be, I want to stay in touch with you. I want you to communicate with me.
Yeah, well, the other thing was you're talking about the sugars. What about the proteins in that?
What about it?
Talk about lectins and the naked
Lectins are a huge problem. Lectins are not found in meat or fish.
Yeah.
Lectins are found in legumes, especially legumes, beans, nuts, and also vegetables, many vegetables. So yes, this could definitely be a problem for you, is lectins in combination with FODMAPs. Okay. So we got a deal, right, buddy?
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. One last thing before you run off, I did have a quick question about somebody who is on the longevity. They are doing the eliminating food, but they're still on thyroid medication.
Okay.
What would you recommend?
Well, what do I recommend? The thyroid is very interesting, and we just talked about it. So if you think back to what we said, that will give you a big clue. But more importantly, what I would tell you about the thyroid is you cannot work on the thyroid by itself. It's the tip of the triangle. It itself is being affected by the bottom of the triangle. There is nothing, nada, zippo, anyone can do for the thyroid unless you're dealing with a condition called iodine deficiency. a goiter. If you're dealing with a goiter, you can fix that with iodine. But that's not the problem when you have hypothyroidism, number one, because the thyroid regulates every other part of the body. Every single disease. I said earlier how every single disease has this triangle, but every single disease has the tip of the triangle. So you don't need to be tested for hypothyroidism if you have a reproductive problem or a movement problem or neurological problem or an immune problem, or Steve has the spondylitis issue or any other issue. Hypothyroidism is behind everything. Hypothyroidism is an epidemic. Dr. Broda Barnes wrote a book called Hypothyroidism, the Hidden Illness, because he noticed it was behind all other health challenges. He wrote it in I think the 70s or the 80s, and it's a great book to have, Hypothyroidism, the Hidden Illness. There's nothing you do about the thyroid, but there's lots you can do by working on adrenal health, by stabilizing the blood sugar, and most especially the first point on the triangle of disease for a lot of reasons. Number one, this point on the triangle disease will lead to more disease, but even worse, when you're hypothyroid, that affects the digestive system negatively, which keeps this circle going. Even worse than that, thyroid hormone comes in two strengths. Oh, by the way, when you have hypothyroidism, you have a gland problem, not a thyroid hormone problem. Although thyroid hormone, you're not making thyroid hormone, you can't fix the gland problem by using thyroid hormone. That's the medicine they give you. And in the United States, every year, it's in the top 10 medications because everybody's hypothyroid. There's nothing you can do to fix the thyroid gland by taking the hormone. The hormone is just replacing what's supposed to be missing. But the problem is, the way nature designed it, thyroid hormone goes up and down. You can't just put a hormone in the body and get the same results as God intended with an intelligent, responsive organ that goes up and down. So thyroid hormone doesn't work. But here's what really gets tricky. There's two kinds of thyroid hormone that your body makes. It makes one that's called T3, which is powerful, and it makes one that's called T4, which is weak. It makes two of them. T4 gets turned into T3 in the intestine. So if you're suffering from intestinal problems, not only is this going to lead to this whole triangle issue that's going to affect the thyroid, but you're also not going to be able to make strong thyroid hormone at the level of the intestine. So you're going to be hypothyroid in multiple places. So the only way to deal with hypothyroidism is by working on the triangle. The only way. There's no medicine that can do it. There's no plant that can do it. There's no single nutritional supplement that can do it unless you're fully deficient in iodine. So you got to work on the digestive system. That being said, high protein is very good. Making sure you get enough essential fatty acids is important. Electrolytes are important because you're not going to have energy. So doing things that support energy, you're going to work on the blood sugar system. Doing things that support energy are very, very important. Making sure you're oxygenating. All that being said, they're very important. Unless you focus on the triangle, you can't do anything for the thyroid. And last thing about the thyroid is 90% of hypothyroidism occurs in women. 80 to 90% occurs in women. Now, when that happens, when you have a disease that mostly, and by the way, most inflammatory diseases affect women, and most depression affects women. And it's not just because you have to deal with us men. It's because of a hormone in the body. It's because of a hormone in the body that you're making lots of, and that's called estrogen. And hypothyroidism, and it's men make estrogen too, so men will get hypothyroid also, but mostly it's women. And hyperestrogen, producing lots of estrogen, doesn't just have to happen out of your ovaries. If you're making body fat, you're going to be making estrogen. So the more weight you're carrying, the more estrogen you're going to be making, the more suppressant and inhibiting effect you're going to have on the thyroid. It's very complicated here. Also, there are toxins in the environment that act like estrogen. They call them xenoestrogens. Sunscreens act like estrogens. Preservatives act like estrogens. Perfumes act like estrogens. Plasticizers in your baby bottles and in your shower curtains act like estrogens. We take estrogen in medications. We drink estrogen in the water supply. There's estrogen given to farm animals. There's estrogen plants, soy protein, which is in this country, probably in your country too, is everywhere. All of these are hidden sources of estrogen that ultimately will have a suppressant effect on the thyroid. Estrogen has to be cleared out of the body, eliminated through bowel movements and through bile. But bile and bowel movements and a healthy intestine are critical for reducing estrogen load so that you can have a healthy thyroid, so you can reduce inflammation, so that you can have a baby and have fertility. And by the way, elevated estrogen is the main reason why we have a infertility epidemic. Estrogen is like a stress hormone. So this third point on the triangle of disease is estrogen partially affect, even though I didn't mention estrogen, estrogen is made in the adrenal glands too. So the third point on the triangle of disease is where estrogen interacts and will suppress the thyroid, cause digestive problems, blood sugar problems, suppress the thyroid, and on and on and on. So estrogen fits into the triangle of disease right here, and balancing out estrogen, improving estrogen elimination, and reducing your contact with excess estrogens is very important for the thyroid patient. Now, you can do it on the 3 points of the triangle of disease, and we should, but also essential fatty acids are like a natural estrogen for women who are on hormone replacement, the Ultimate EFA and Ultimate EFA Plus. We also have a product called Zero Fem, which can help. And then also progesterone, which I don't have time to talk about because I really got a bolt here. But progesterone can help balance out estrogen. Progesterone is estrogen's kind and gentle cousin. And while estrogen's got a whole host of health issues associated with it, progesterone has a whole host of anti-aging benefits associated with it. And while estrogen is deadly toxic, literally, it can cause cancer, progesterone is completely non-toxic. I should say estrogen is potentially toxic.
So definitely that is a big topic that we can come back to.
That's a big topic, yes. It's a huge topic.
And thank you so much for all your time.
God bless you. I hope I hear from you soon. And thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you. Okay, bye, everybody.
Thank you
See
very
you
much.
guys. Talk
Bye-bye.
to you again soon.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted on my call.